The Mercedes wouldn't start. Maya turned the key again, heard nothing but that hollow click that meant she was stranded. She stepped out onto the gravel shoulder, her red-soled Louboutins crunching against the stones, and stared at the endless stretch of Georgia, back road, disappearing into the afternoon heat. Her phone showed 1 bar, then none. Perfect. Just perfect. She'd left the Atlanta conference early, taken the scenic route to clear her head after closing the Morrison case. 26 years old and already making partner at Richardson, and associates felt like victory. But right now, standing alone on this deserted road, with the sun beating down on her shoulders, she felt small, vulnerable. The kind of vulnerable she'd spent years making sure she never felt again. That's when she heard the engine, a black Maserati, quattreport, sleek and predatory, slowed and pulled onto the shoulder behind her. The engine purred to silence. The door opened. He stepped out like something from a dream she didn't know she'd been having. Tall, at least 6'2", moving with the kind of controlled grace that came from discipline, maybe danger. His curly, dark hair was cut perfectly, styled in a fade that showcased those thick curls on top. The afternoon sun caught the ink winding up his neck, dragon scales in black and grey disappearing beneath the collar of his Tom Ford suit. The jacket hung open, white shirt unbuttoned, just enough to reveal the edge of something larger, something intricate spreading across his chest. Car trouble? His voice was deep, textured, with an Italian accent that wrapped around the words like silk. Maya's breath caught, not from fear, but from something else entirely. He was beautiful in a way that seemed almost unfair. Sharp jaw, dark eyes that held hers for a moment too long, and when he smiled, just slightly, her heart did something stupid. "It won't start," she managed. "I don't know what's wrong." He walked toward her car, and she noticed his hands. More ink. The dragon continued there, scaled and detailed, wrapping around his fingers like rings of fire. He popped her hood without asking permission, the movement casual, confident. As he leaned in to examine the engine, his jacket fell open more. She caught a glimpse of the full piece, a dragon in flight across his chest, wings spreading toward his shoulders. The sunlight made the tattoo seem almost alive. "When's the last time you had your battery checked?" he asked, not looking up. "I'm not sure. The car's only 6 months old." Connections can loosen. He walked back to his Maserati, those tattooed hands pulling a small toolkit from his trunk. Maya watched him work, fascinated by the contradiction. This man wore a suit that probably cost $5,000 and drove a car worth 6 figures, but he moved around her engine like he'd been doing it his whole life. Sweat beaded on his forehead in the afternoon heat, and he rolled up his sleeves, revealing more of the dragon. Tattoo coiling up his forearms. "I'm Maya," she said, needing to fill the silence, needing to hear his voice again. He glanced up, and that smile returned, warmer this time. Dominic. Dominic. The name echoed in her head, familiar somehow, like a song she'd heard once and never quite forgotten. She studied his face as he worked, squinting slightly against the bright Georgia sun. The strong nose, the way his brow furrowed in concentration, the curve of his mouth. Something about him pulled at a memory she couldn't quite grasp. "You live around here?" she asked. "About 20 minutes north. I was checking on some property." He tightened something with practiced efficiency, tested it, then straightened up, wiping his hands. "Try it now." Maya slid into the driver's seat, turned the key. The engine roared to life like it had never failed her. Relief flooded through her, followed immediately by disappointment that he'd be leaving. "Oh my God," she breathed, stepping back out into the afternoon sun. "Thank you so much. Seriously, how much do I owe you?" "Nothing." He closed her hood, wiped his hands on a cloth from his pocket. "No, really, I insist." Dominic shook his head, and there was something in his eyes, something that made her chest tight. "It took 5 minutes. I'm not taking your money for tightening a bolt." She pulled out her business card, embossed and professional. Maya Richardson, partner, Richardson, and associates, civil rights law. Then at least take this. If you ever need anything, legal or otherwise, please call me. Besties, if you are loving this story so far, please hit the subscribe button, because what happens next will make you believe in second chances. He took the card, studied it for a moment in the bright daylight. His eyebrows rose slightly when he read her title. Civil rights attorney. That's important work. I try to help people who can't help themselves. She paused, wanting to say more, wanting him to stay, but not knowing how to. Ask. Well, he said, tucking her card into his inside jacket pocket, right over his heart. I hope the rest of your drive is smooth, Ms. Richardson. Maya. Just Maya. That smile again, the one that made her forget she was standing on a deserted road in the midday heat. Drive safe, Maya. He walked back to his Maserati, those dragon-wrapped hands opening the door. She watched him slide inside, watched him pull back onto the road, the black car gleaming in the sunlight. As he drove away, something clicked in her mind. The way he'd smiled at her. Really smiled, like she was a person and not just a problem to fix. The way he'd moved, confident but not arrogant. The way his voice had softened when he said her name. Her breath stopped. She knew that smile, knew those eyes, the way he tilted his head when he concentrated, the gentle way he'd handled her car, like it mattered because it was hers. 8 years dissolved in an instant. Different hair, different clothes, covered in tattoos. Now, but the same kindness in his eyes, the same protective instinct. The library steps at Spelman, spring semester, late at night. The group of white men who'd cornered her, drunk and mean, throwing words at her that still made her stomach turn. And then he'd appeared, Dominic Vitale, the quiet Italian scholarship kid from a sociology class at Morehouse. He'd stepped between them without hesitation, hadn't raised his voice, but somehow made them leave, made her safe. They'd talked until dawn that night, sat on the steps outside her dorm, and shared everything, dreams and fears, and futures they wanted to build. He'd told her about growing up in his father's shadow, about wanting something different, something honest. She told him about being the first in her family to go to college, about the pressure to succeed, to prove she belonged. And when the sun came up, he'd kissed her, soft and careful, like she was something precious. Then he'd vanished, withdrew from school mid-semester. No explanation, no goodbye. She'd searched for him, asked everyone, but Dominic Vitale had simply disappeared from her life like he'd never existed. Except he had existed. She'd measured every man against him for 8 years. Every date, every relationship that never quite worked, because they weren't him. They didn't make her feel safe and seen and understood the way he had in those few short months. And he didn't remember her. Maya stood on that sun-baked road, watching his car disappear into the distance, and felt something crack open in her chest. He'd helped her twice now, 8 years apart, and both times he'd left her breathless. But this time she had his card. This time she knew his name. This time she wasn't letting him disappear. She drove back to Atlanta in a daze, her mind replaying every second of their encounter. The way the dragon tattoo had moved when he breathed, the way his curls fell perfectly even after he'd been working on her car in the heat, the way he'd refused. Her money like it would insult what had passed between them. Her penthouse felt empty that night. She paced the hardwood floors, unable to sleep, unable to think about anything except him. Finally, at 3 a.m, she grabbed her laptop. Dominic Vitale. She typed the name and waited. The results made her stomach drop. News articles, police reports, FBI investigations, the Vitale family, organised crime, racketeering. Her hands shook as she scrolled through page after page of allegations, photographs of him in handcuffs being led from a courthouse, older photos of a man who must be his father, cold-eyed and cruel. But then other articles appeared, anonymous donations to community centres, a children's hospital wing funded by an unnamed benefactor that local reporters suspected was him, small businesses saved from closure by mysterious investors. The picture wasn't clean, wasn't simple. She found his social media, public and surprisingly active. Photos of him with a little girl, maybe 7 years old, with dark curls like his and a smile that could light up the world. Isabella, the tag said, my everything. Pictures of father-daughter, camping trips, birthday parties, school plays. A life built around this child, no mention of a wife, no woman in any recent photos. Maya's heart twisted. He'd built an entire world without her. And why wouldn't he? She'd been one night in his life, one conversation, one kiss, before circumstances tore him away. But God, she'd never forgotten. Never stopped wondering what if. She pulled up his business page, Vitale Security Consulting, a legitimate-looking company with offices just outside Atlanta. Corporate security, private protection, risk assessment, on the surface, perfectly legal. But knowing what she knew about his family, Maya understood it was probably more complicated than that. Her phone sat on the coffee table, screen dark and accusing. She'd given him her card. Would he call? Did he even remember her? Or had? That night meant nothing to him. Sleep finally came around 5, restless and full of dreams, where dragon tattoos came to life, and curly-haired men with kind eyes kept walking away from her. Morning came too soon. Maya dragged herself to the office, her tailored burgundy dress hugging her curves perfectly, her natural hair pulled into a sleek, low bun. She looked polished and professional, but inside she felt fractured. Her paralegal, Janelle, took one look at her and frowned. Girl, what happened to you? You look like you didn't sleep. I'm fine, Maya lied, settling behind her desk. And I'm Beyoncé. Janelle crossed her arms, her box braids swinging. Spill! Maya wanted to tell someone about the impossible coincidence about Dominic appearing in her life again after 8 years. But what would she even say? The man who saved me in college is now a possible crime boss, and I can't stop thinking about him. That sounded insane even in her own head. Just a long drive back from the conference, she said, and instead, car trouble. You need me to call someone? It's handled. But it wasn't handled. Nothing about this was handled. Maya tried to focus on case files, on depositions and motions, but her mind kept drifting back to those tattooed hands, that smile, the way he'd looked at her like she mattered. 3 days passed. Her phone never rang with his number. She told herself it was better this way, safer. She was a civil rights attorney. He was connected to organised crime. There was no universe where that made sense. On the 4th day, she couldn't take it anymore. Maya told Janelle she had a personal matter to handle and drove north, out of Atlanta, following the directions to Vitale Security Consulting. The building was modern, glass and steel, sitting in a business park that looked completely legitimate. She sat in her car for 10 minutes, arguing with herself. This was crazy. This was professional suicide. She got out of the car. The lobby was clean, minimalist, and expensive. A receptionist looked up, smiled professionally. Can I help you? I'm here to see Dominic Vitale. My name is Maya Richardson. He helped me with my car a few days ago. The receptionist's expression shifted slightly, curiosity flickering. Do you have an appointment? No, but if you could just tell him I'm here. The woman picked up the phone, spoke quietly. Maya's heart hammered. This was insane. He probably didn't even remember her from the road, let alone from 8 years ago. She was about to turn around and leave, when the receptionist said, Mr. Vitale will see you. 3rd floor, corner office. The elevator ride felt eternal. Maya checked her reflection in the mirrored walls, smoothed her dress over her hips, and wondered what the hell she was doing. The doors opened to a quiet hallway, plush carpet, more glass walls. At the end, double doors stood open. Dominic sat behind a massive desk, looking at something on his computer. He stood. When he saw her, surprise, and something else crossing his face. Maya, is everything all right? The car. The car's perfect. She stepped inside, and he closed the doors behind her. that simple gesture feeling intimate somehow. I wanted to thank you properly. You already did. He gestured to a chair, but she stayed standing, too nervous to sit. Can I ask you something, Dominic? Of course. Do you remember Morehouse, spring semester 2017? His body went still, really still, like a predator that's just caught a scent. I was only there for one semester. I know. Her voice shook slightly. You lived in Graves Hall. You tutored kids at the community centre every Saturday. You were in my sociology class, Professor Morrison, Tuesday and Thursday mornings. Dominic's dark eyes were fixed on her now, searching, piecing something together. How do you? Do you remember April 16th? Late night, outside Baker Hall Library. She watched his face change, watched memories surface like something rising from deep water. His hand came up, ran through those perfect curls. There was a girl. Some guys were harassing her. I walked her back to her dorm. That was me. The words hung between them like a bridge suddenly appearing over a chasm. Dominic stared at her, really looked at her, and she saw the exact moment he recognized her. His breath caught, barely audible, but she heard it. Maya, he whispered. Oh my God, Maya from Spellman. You had braids back then, glasses. I was 40 pounds lighter because I could barely afford to eat. She smiled, feeling tears prick her eyes. But it was me. He moved around the desk, came close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and warm. I looked for you. When I had to leave, I tried to find you, but I didn't have your number, didn't know your last name. You were just Maya from sociology class. Something broke open in her chest, 8 years of wondering and what-ifs crashing through. You looked for me. Of course I did. His voice cracked slightly, and she saw everything he was feeling written across his face. That night, Maya, that wasn't just some random thing for me. We talked until sunrise. He stopped, shook his head. I thought maybe we could be something. Then why didn't you come back? The question came out smaller than she intended. Why did you just disappear? Dominic's jaw clenched, pain flickering through his eyes. My mother got sick. Cancer. I had to come home, had to take care of her. He stopped, turned away. I had to take over my father's business to pay for her treatment. I couldn't afford to stay in school. Couldn't afford anything except keeping her alive as long as possible. Dominic, I'm so sorry. She died anyway. 2 years later, he was still facing away from her, shoulders tight. And by then I was in too deep to get out. This life, it wasn't a choice, it was survival. Maya stepped closer, saw the dragon tattoo curling up his neck, breathed in the truth of what he was saying. The little girl in your photos, Isabella, my daughter, she's 7. He turned back, and his eyes were wet. Her mother, Gianna, was someone my father arranged. A business marriage. She died 3 years ago. Heart condition. Now it's just me and Bella, and I'm trying so damn hard to build something different for her, something legitimate. Is that what this is? Maya gestured at the office. Going legitimate? Trying to. It's complicated. My family, they don't let go easily. But I've been transitioning everything, working with federal prosecutors, feeding them information on real threats. I'm not my father, Maya. I'm trying not to be. She believed him. Looking into those dark eyes, seeing the pain and hope and fear mixing together, she believed every word. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve the truth. He stepped closer, and she could feel the heat coming off him, could see the way the dragon scales on his neck moved when he swallowed. And because I never stopped thinking about you. 8 years, Maya. 8 years, and I never forgot that night. Never forgot how you made me feel like I could be someone better. You made me feel like I mattered, she whispered. Like I was worth protecting. You were. You are. His hand came up, hesitated near her face, and she closed the distance, let him cup her cheek. His palm was warm, slightly rough. those tattooed fingers gentle against her skin. "I can't believe you're here. I can't believe I found you again." "You didn't find me," Maya said, her heart hammering. "I found you," he laughed, soft and broken. "Why? Why would you come looking for me? You know what I am now, what I'm connected to. I know you stopped to help a stranger on a sunny road. I know you refused money for it. I know you've been trying to get out, trying to build something better." She put her hand over his, held it against her face. "I know you're the same person who made me feel safe 8 years ago. Maya, my world is dangerous. People want me dead. Rivals, old enemies, maybe even the feds if I slip up. Being near me could destroy everything you've built." "Then help me understand," she said. "Let me in. Let me." His phone buzzed. Then again, and again. Dominic pulled it out, looked at the screen, and his entire body went rigid. "You need to leave, right now." "What? Why?" The doors burst open. 2 men in dark suits, not police. Something worse. They had guns, not drawn, but visible in shoulder holsters. One of them smiled, cold and mean. "Dominic Vitale. We've been looking for you." Dominic stepped in front of Maya instantly, his body a shield. "She has nothing to do with this." "That's not what our sources say." The second man's eyes slid over Maya, assessing, calculating. "Civil rights attorney, high profile, good leverage." "Walk away," Dominic said, and his voice had changed, gone cold and hard. "Right now, while you still can." "Can't do that, Dominic. The Calabrese family sends their regards." It happened fast, too fast for Maya to fully process. Dominic moved like violence given form, grabbed the first man's wrist, twisted until something snapped, the gun clattered away. The second man reached for his weapon, but Dominic was already there, elbow to the face, knee to the ribs, movements precise and brutal. The dragon tattoo seemed to writhe across his skin as he fought. Both men were on the ground, in under 30 seconds, groaning, disarmed. Dominic grabbed Maya's hand. "Run!" They ran. The Maserati's engine screamed as Dominic tore through Atlanta traffic, one hand on the wheel, the other gripping his phone, making rapid-fire calls in Italian. Maya's heart slammed against her ribs, adrenaline and fear, and something else flooding her system. "Where are we going?" she managed. "Somewhere safe." "I'm sorry. God, Maya, I'm so sorry you got pulled into this." "I pulled myself into it," she said, and meant it. "I chose to find you." He glanced at her, something fierce and grateful in his eyes, then back to the road. They drove for 40 minutes, leaving the city behind, until he pulled off onto a private road that led to a small cabin surrounded by trees, isolated, defensible. Inside, he made more calls, arranged protection, his voice never losing that edge of command. Maya watched him pace, watched the dragon tattoo flex across his neck with each tense movement, and saw clearly what he'd become, what he'd had to become. When he finally put the phone down, he turned to her, and the facade cracked. "I'll have my people take you home. You'll be safe. I'll make sure of it." "What about you?" "I'll handle this. It's what I do." "Alone?" "I've been alone for 8 years, Maya." His voice broke on her name. "I'm used to it." She crossed the room, stood in front of him, this beautiful, dangerous man, with dragons on his skin and grief in his eyes. "What if you didn't have to be? You don't know what you're saying. This life destroys everything good. I won't let it destroy you. I'm not asking for permission, Dominic. I'm telling you I'm staying." "Maya, I've spent 8 years wondering what happened to you. 8 years building a career, winning cases, proving myself to everyone. And you know what? I was never happy. Not really. Because something was always missing." She put her hand on his chest, felt his heart hammering under the ink and muscle. "You were missing. I'm not that college kid anymore. I've done things, Maya. Dark things. Then let me help you get out. You said you're working with the feds, transitioning everything legitimate. I'm an attorney. This is what I do. Let me help you." His hands came up, cupped her face, and she saw the war happening behind his eyes. Fear and hope and desperate want. "What if I can't protect you?" What if they come after you again? Then we protect each other. He kissed her, deep and hungry, and 8 years overdue. His hand slid down her back, pulled her, curves against him, and she felt the dragon tattoo press between them like a living thing. When they broke apart, foreheads together, both breathing hard, he whispered, "I'm scared. I know. I'm scared of not being enough, of you realizing what you've gotten into and running." Maya pulled back enough to look him in the eyes. "I didn't come this far to run. I'm all in, Dominic. Are you?" "Yeah." He kissed her again, softer this time. "Yeah, I'm all in." They spent the night planning. Maya's legal expertise combined with his insider knowledge created a roadmap out, full cooperation with the FBI, immunity deals, restructuring his business into legitimate security consulting. It wouldn't be easy. It would take time, sacrifice, risk, but it was possible. "There's something else you need to know," Dominic said, as dawn crept through the windows. "Isabella. She's everything to me. If we do this, if we try to build something together, she comes first, always." "I wouldn't expect anything less," Maya said. "I want to meet her, know her, if she'll have me." Something in his expression shifted, softened. "She's going to love you. How could she not?" 3 months later, Maya stood in Dominic's house, warm and lived in, watching Isabella run in from school. The little girl launched herself at Maya, hugging her tight. "You came! Did you bring the books?" "Always do, sweetheart." Dominic leaned against the kitchen doorway, watching them, and the smile on his face made Maya's heart full. This was real. They were building this together. The transition wasn't easy. FBI meetings, legal paperwork, tense negotiations with rival families who wanted blood. But Dominic was untouchable now, protected by federal immunity and the weight of his testimony against real criminals. His security company became fully legitimate, his former soldiers now licensed bodyguards and security specialists. When Maya brought him to Sunday dinner at her grandmother's house in Atlanta, she'd been terrified. Her family knew his history, knew what he'd been. But Grandma Rose, sharp and wise, had watched Dominic with Isabella, seen how he looked at Maya, and made her judgment. "You the one who helped my grandbaby on that road?" she had asked. "Yes, ma'am." "And you the one who helped her 8 years ago too?" "I am." Grandma Rose had nodded slowly, measuring him with eyes that had seen everything. "Then I suppose you've been looking after her longer than we knew. You're welcome at my table." That Sunday dinner became a weekly tradition. Dominic and Isabella integrated into the Richardson family fold, slowly but surely. 6 months after that day in his office, Dominic drove Maya back to that deserted Georgia back road. He pulled over at the exact spot where her car had broken down, where their lives had collided again after 8 years. The afternoon sun was warm, just like it had been that first day. "Why are we stopping?" she asked. He got out, came around to open her door like a gentleman, those dragon-tattooed hands reaching for hers. The sky was clear and blue, perfect. "This is where I found you again," he said quietly, "where I got a second chance I didn't deserve." He pulled a small box from his jacket pocket, dropped to one knee on that gravel shoulder. The dragon on his neck seemed to glow in the sunlight. "Maya Richardson, you saved me twice. Once from becoming someone I hated. Once from being alone forever. You saw past the ink and the history and the mistakes to the person I was trying to be. Will you marry me?" She was crying, laughing, pulling him up to kiss him. "Yes. God, yes. Absolutely yes." He slid the ring on her finger, simple and perfect, and held her as the sun warmed their skin on that empty road. Full circle from that night 8 years ago when they'd talked until dawn. Their wedding 6 months later was everything Maya had dreamed of. Small and intimate at Grandma Rose's church, filled with people who loved them. Isabella was the flower girl, beaming in her white dress, throwing petals with dramatic flair. Dominic's former crew sat in the pews, legitimate now, dressed in suits and ties, here to witness their boss finally finding peace. When Dominic lifted her veil, when she saw those dark eyes wet with happy tears, when he promised to protect and cherish and love her forever, Maya knew they'd made it. Against every odd, through every obstacle, they'd found their way home. Their life together was beautiful. Her law practice merged with his security firm, creating something unique, protecting the vulnerable while building something good. Isabella called her mom now, no hesitation, just love. Sunday dinners at Grandma's were loud and full of laughter. One evening, a year after their wedding, they drove back to that road one more time, sat on the hood of Maya's Mercedes, the one he'd fixed that first day, watching the sunset paint the sky in colours that took her breath away. Isabella was at her grandmother's for the weekend. It was just them and the Georgia evening and the future they would build together. "You know what I think about sometimes," Maya said, leaning into his side. "What?" "If my car hadn't broken down that day." Dominic kissed her temple, his arm tight around her waist, the dragon tattoo visible on his hand as he held her. "It wasn't the car, baby. It was fate. We were always going to find our way back to each other." She turned to look at him, this man with dragons on his skin and love in his eyes, and knew he was right. Some people are written into your story from the first chapter. They might disappear for a while, might come back different, inked and changed and carrying scars, but they come back, and when they do, you hold on and never let go. If this story touched your heart, we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below telling us what you think, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more stories about love, second chances and fate. Keep believing that some broken down cars lead to forever,